of the event. If you're here, you're getting the best part of everything. No dig for the people who came yesterday, but those who are coming here today, this is a real deal, right? So yeah, you can give yourself a hand. You can give yourself a hand. And what I'll do is, I don't know if you all know each other. Maybe you're sitting next to someone you don't know. I'll just give you a quick minute. It's not a very formal event, okay? Hautatoka hapa kama umetolewa pesa. You're coming to gain, you're not coming to lose. So I want you to go turn around to the person to your right and just say hello to them, okay? Turn around to the person on your right. If you're sitting all the way at the end and there's no one on your right, just turn around to the person on your left. Say hi to them. And maybe ask them. Ask them, why are they here?
You have some Spanish. The building that one Spanish ministry, he moved to Miami towards Phillipsburg, and they sold the building. That's how.
All right. On behalf of all the people who greeted each other, I also greet you all. All right. Even though I didn't greet you personally, I greet you all. Right. Si Wakenya wanapenda kusema tupongeane kwa hewa, right? All right. So without further ado, I'd ask you why you're here today, but before you tell me, I think two people have to agree, right? When you do anything, you have to agree why you're doing something. Before you tell me, I'll tell you why you're here. On behalf of Jambo, you're here to be illuminated. Say illuminated. I know it's a hard word. Illuminated. And we're also going, while we illuminate, we eliminate, right? Yes. When I was in high school, they used to say, elimu ni mali. You know, mali means that you're gaining something, you're not losing something. Kama kitu ni mali ni yako, si ndio? Mtu akichukua, yeye ni mwizi, right? So, mtu anachukua kitu, if you don't have knowledge, that is wizi. But you're coming to gain, right? You're coming here today to be illuminated. So we'll remember two things, illuminated and eliminated. We're gaining knowledge and we're eliminating misinformation, lack of knowledge, all right? So those two things today. And without further ado, I want to welcome Sarah. Is she in the room? All right, for those who don't know Sarah, and I've always said, sometimes great things will come without a lot of pomp. Though you all know Sarah, she is the founder of Jambo. She's doing great stuff behind the scenes. She might not put her flag out there, but let's just give a big hand to Sarah. She's the original creator of Jambo.
Thank you, Bunny. And all protocols observed. I greet you all this afternoon. How are you doing? I know my voice is not as loud as Bunny's, but with this thing here, I'll be able to shout. But even before I go any further, I would like to invite on stage one of our co-founder of Jambo, who is here to come and say hello. Welcome, Teresa. This is our co-founder. And our other co-founder, a lady, she is in Kenya. And together here, we are representing her because she's not here tonight. She would have loved to be here. You all know her, Lady Muturi. Please clap for her. There's no way we could have done this without Mary. She has done a great job supporting us in Kenya and helping us with reaching the vendors, meeting all the demands and the needs they had, supporting with the embassy and of course with the Ministry of Labor, Housing, urban development. So we are so grateful, Mary Muturi, wherever you are. I know you couldn't travel because of various things, but thank you so much. I'll give Mogole a minute so that she can say hello.
You know, a lot of people don't know my name's Teresa. Same as Mother Teresa. And I'm also Mugore, a Kikuyu name that means precious bought. So everything about me is really precious. I'm just brightening the room because I like to joke around. But thank you so much for joining us. You know what? We have rallied behind our community, and for us to see our community rally behind us, it speaks for you about how you feel about us and what you think about us. We are forever grateful, and we cannot be more pleased than to see that our Expo is such a success because we have your support. It is your event. We just welcome you and host you, but it is your event. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Teresa. And we would like to talk a little bit about Jambo and the company that we have founded about 3 years ago. Just so that we can give a little bit history about how we came about. It actually started from a thought, an idea, and most important, thinking about our community as community leaders. We thought about how we can be able to build a stronger community, and we knew that we cannot build a stronger community without economy, without money circulating within us. This evening, you'll be seeing this in more details, but just to highlight a little bit, we realize that many communities are able to keep their dollars, the money within themselves for a very long time. Some communities, they keep the dollar within themselves. Once you get paid, how long you keep that money circulating within your community? For up to 30 days. It's a whole month. You circulate that money in the sense that you get paid, and then you hire a fellow community person to work for you, to clean your house, cut your lawn, wash your car, repair your car, you buy a car from them, whatever the case, you are keeping that money circulating within yourself. And for us, as Black Americans, Black Kenyans, we are included in that category, we keep the money within us for 6 hours. Think about that. So you get paid in the morning, you realize that the money has come in on Friday morning, so you have money. By lunchtime, you have paid bills to a Spanish, you have gone to an Indian store, you have gone to an Indian doctor, you have looked for a lawyer who is an Asian, whatever the community is. And there's nothing wrong with living with each other. But we realize that we have all that within our community. And if you cannot support your own first, you cannot expect that somebody else from the other communities will be living that person, your own. And that's why we started Jambo, so that we can be able to bring everybody in that one spot where we can all be able to know what other people are doing. In here today, we have companies that are doing all different kinds of things. We have financial. If you own a business, you can go to Has Consulting, and they can support you, making sure that your company is staying in check. If you're looking for a bank, you can go to DTB and make sure that you have your banking in check. If you're looking for solar energy, if you're looking for clothes, you're looking for accountants. If you look at the program, it has all that. So we can actually be able to keep our dollar circulating within us longer than 6 hours. There's nobody else who is going to do it. It has to be you and me. And the longer we decide not to support Kenyan doctors or kids who we have raised and now they are accountants, If the longer we stay without supporting people who own transportation companies when we are moving, we are going to look for other communities. You are contributing in keeping dollar away from our community. You are contributing to lowering our grade in terms of economic status. You are contributing on lack of respect to the Black people because you have no economic power. We have what it takes, and Jamboree is there to start that. Now, the second thing that made us, decide on Jamboree is the fact that we have great ties with Kenya. We are, all of us, maybe born in Kenya, a few of us are not born there, but somehow, somewhat, we are connected with Kenya. Now, our question is, how do we continue to do great business with Kenya? And particularly, how do we increase our interest in investment and doing business with Kenya? Especially in an environment where we have all lost money or we have been hurt. Because you made an investment and you have lost, you lost an investment there. You sent your money to someone and the money did not do what it was intended to do. A company came here, FEP or whatever other company, they talked you into investing with them and you lost all the money. And that's why we have Jamboree, because we vet companies that work with us. We go and we have a system in Kenya that makes sure that we go and see various companies that we advertise. So if you see us advertising any company, we have done our due diligence. We are not telling you not to do your due diligence, but we have done the preliminary, and it has passed the threshold that we have put to make sure that we can advertise them. In here, we have our great partners, and they are our sponsors for the event that we have this time. If it was not for DTB Bank, we would not have done this. If you have not seen the Red Bank, if you are not gone to their space, make sure you go in there. If you don't have an account in Kenya, you must open one. If you do have an account in Kenya, a bank account, you must transfer your money from that bank to DTB. There's a reason I'm saying that. The diaspora manager that we have here, he is one of us. He lived here. If you go there, he will tell you his story. But he is one of us who have lived in our shoes. In fact, he still have companies here. So he understands the issues and the problems that we have. He will work with you. You support him. And second, he came with the manager for all the branches in Kenya. So if you need money to build anything, if you're constructing, you're buying, whatever you're doing in Kenya, they got you. And I would like them to stand up and just wave to the crowd. So make sure you see them. Also, we would like to highlight another company, and I'll let Teresa talk about them because they are also our co-sponsors, and without them, we would not have been able to host this event.
All right. And before I talk about the Habu, I just also wanted to mention, you talked about DTB, the Red Bank, right? The Red Bank. The Red Bank. Mr. Itaka is wearing red shoes. Is that on purpose? Is that on purpose? You want to show them your shoes?
That's why.
Do you see this? He's wearing red shoes. All right, you can go.
I think even he might also be wearing.
Yes, but I want us to do
something that we don't know.
Anyway, we want to talk about the Habu Land Limited. And the reason why we are going to talk about the Habu, we have told you, we brought Kamau to you many, many times. Because when Kamau came to us, there was something special about him. He is an orphan and he has told you his story. He's an orphan that was born by, the father died when he was 4 years old, and the mother died when he was 11. He ended up being a chokora, he even was selling a hookah, and he did all these things. And when he came to us, because Sarah and I, we do a lot of things with the youth, with the young people, there was something about what we do with the young people that brought Kamau and made Kamau feel like a story of what we would like to support. And his story is fabulous. And he started with somebody who mentored him, called Chairman. He calls him a father figure, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman is on our program as one of our speakers. Unfortunately, the embassy of USA in Nairobi did not give them an appointment on time. They gave them an appointment in the coming months. We tried our level best to have it moved, and it did not happen. But because they are our sponsors, we still want to highlight them and tell you about what they are doing. They have land in Matu, they have land in Malindi, and they are just a big supporter of Jamborees, just the same way the other companies are big supporters. So even as we welcome our other guests, we wanted you to let you know that the power behind Jamborees is the community and even the sponsors that work so well with us. And the Harbour Land Limited, I know many of you are disappointed that Kamau, you're not here, but we have promised them that we are going to give your contacts to Kamau so that Kamau and the Harbour Land Limited can be able to talk to you and can be able to do business with you.
Very good. And with that, the Habu have donated, brought a lot of merchandise. And tomorrow we have a barbecue and we are all attending, right? You only need to go to Jamboree's desk. Outside there, after we are done, and you get a t-shirt to wear tomorrow. It's from the Habu, and they want you to wear a t-shirt or wear a cap. So tomorrow we are all the Habu what? Members. Very good. So we are going to, we are honored to have you. Thank you so much. Over here we have the Ministry of Land. So we are ready. We're going to be starting shortly. But right before we start, I am going to ask Mr. DJ to just share 2 videos from 2 of our partners who also would have loved to be here, but unfortunately because of the visa, the visa situation, they are not able to come. So we are going to share 2 videos. One will be from Nyota. Nyota is a real estate company that is based in Kenya. And we have some information from this company outside. And also another one called JB. These are companies that we have done our due diligence, and we have worked with the Ministry of Land to make sure that they are good enough for us to be able to advertise them to you. So welcome, and let's share the 2 videos. Yes.
That's what's been given to you, but then you're here to verify. How many people like when you make a call to a company and then you get, if you want this, press 1. Then once you get there, but if you want this, press 2. Then they say, now that you're here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? No one likes that. We feel there's value talking to the actual source. And that's what we're here for today, right? You will actually get to the actual source. It's not just stuff that you hear, but you'll be able to verify. So as we continue, we're getting to an important session right now. I just want to, we have our distinguished guests. I almost said extinguished. We're not going to extinguish. We roll with the punches. We'll roll with the mistakes too, right? We have our distinguished guest today. We're coming here to see the exhibitions, but then in addition to that, we also want to get to the source of truth. Because the companies that give us information, they're just a small microscope of what's really going on. We have the real deal. And when I say the real deal, you'll see why we're talking about that. You can actually get more insight and information about all the other things that are being presented to you. It's like going to a city. You can either buy a house in a city or you can go and sit in the council and really know what the city is about to do, right? And then now when you buy that house, it gives you more value. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome and mention that today we have the Ministry of Lands. Remember we talked about the companies. They're just a small microscopic part of what's going on. Today we have the Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development here. Those from the Moi era, we know how we used to appreciate stuff, right? Makofi. Yeah? One more time. There you go. There you go. For those who are not from that era, you're learning. We have some of the stuff that's part of our culture, right? And we'll still have that Makofi coming up. So get ready if you missed that one. So we just want to appreciate the team that's here today. What this team is going to do for us is that we heard that they're coming to town. We saw them on the flyers. But then we'll be having a session with them here later on. And the reason why they're coming to us is because diaspora is a huge, huge part of Kenya right now. I think maybe this year, we're on track to be the greatest source, if I'm not wrong. I think we might probably be providing the contributions of just diaspora, right? The remittances, I believe, in 2022 was $4.027 billion. Just last year, $4 billion. Our foreign currency, our exports was $5 billion, 5.7. So we're on track to catch up. That's what you bring, and that's the reason why we have this team that's coming today. So I'd like to acknowledge the Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development, Honorable Zachariah Mwangi. Jero, is he here? Not yet. But we just want to give him the accord that is due him, that he wants to take that time to be here with us, even though he'll not be speaking right now, but we just want to acknowledge him. And on that same breath, we have, he's accompanied by a team from the State Department of Housing and Urban Development. So we have a sector that's called Affordable Housing Program. We know the Affordable Housing Development Program here in the US, right? When you hear about affordable housing, I know there's a whole lot of stuff that people think about. Not deemed to any particular area, maybe you might be thinking about salad, you might be thinking about whatever it is. We want to know what that means, but then that team is here today, and heading that group is Housing Secretary, State Department for Housing and Urban Development. Let's give a hand, and we're not gonna have him come here, but let's give a hand to Said Athman. Big hand. And with him, no particular order, I have Jeremy Simu. He's a finance advisor. I was told he's the brain, and he added the heart of this team. So Jeremy Simu, he's a finance advisor in a graded project delivery unit, State Department of Housing. Now, this one, I don't remember, I think, yeah, this one called herself the driver. She called herself the driver in this team, and we want to welcome Jacqueline Kinuthia. She's a finance advisor as well. She's setting up. Integrated Project Delivery Unit. Again, that's the State Department for Housing, Urban Development. I believe Samuel Mwangi is not here yet. but he's on his way with the Cabinet Secretary. Last but not least, we want to also welcome with a big hand Ruth Wekesa. She's Assistant Director of Housing, State Department for Housing and Urban Development. So this whole team is here with us, and I just want to briefly read the bio for our highlight speaker today, and that was Mr. Said Atman Twana. Again, I want to thank you for being here with us. I'll just briefly read some highlights. He comes with a lot of professional accolades as well as social accolades. He has over 20 years in top senior leadership positions. He's managed companies, organizations, both private and development sector. He's a board member for the African Child Initiative, St. John's, Kenya. We also have the Kenya National Library Service, National Housing Corporation, the Tourism Fund, Vision 2030. How many of you remember Vision 2030? From the previous administration, from the Kibaki administration. All right, we still need to be in tune with that. It's only 6 years. We probably thought it was 30 years ago, but it's coming close. Kenya Utalii College, he's a board member there. Kenya International Conference Center. Is it called Convention Center? All right, Kenya International Convention Center, and then also the Kenya National Convention Bureau. I cannot go into the honors and awards. I'll just say ni mingi sana. He has a lot of them. His work experience speaks for itself. He wouldn't be here if he did not have the work ethics. But right now, he's the Housing Secretary, Ministry of Housing. Prior to that, he was the Secretary of the Ministry of Tourism for 7 years, Mining Secretary, Culture Secretary. He was the CEO of a Consortium for Empowerment and Development, Senior Advisor in Northern Aid. He's been also on a professional side, I believe he ran a company, his own company and his own name, which was a quantity surveyor company. And he's also on a social aspect. He leads the National Youth Coordinator, or rather he did, for the Young Muslim Association. So again, we just want to say that we are honored to have you here. And I will let him speak about some of the other things that he's involved in. I don't know him as much as he knows himself. So with a big hand, let's again welcome Mr. Said Atman Twana to the stage. No, not yet. Yakilo. Again. Moja. Kanufu. There you go. Thank you so much. Did you want to come with the team or?
We just want to know this a bit later, and he will be our chief guest in the evening in dinner. My task here is to share with you about housing in Kenya and the development that is happening within housing in Kenya. The purpose for this sharing is threefold. The first objective is to enable you to understand the new developments in this particular sector in Kenya. The second objective is also to show you the opportunities that are there for you as a Kenyan in the diaspora, both as a buyer of the housing, and number two, for those who would want to invest in Kenya. So the presentation I will try to go quite slowly at the beginning, and then later on we shall catch up, and then we shall have some questions at the end of this presentation. Now, this is a journey. The discussion which I'm going to share with you is a journey. The journey that will answer certain questions. Why are we talking about housing at this moment in time? Why is it so important to discuss this particular element? What does it mean for us as a country, Kenya? And why has the government, the previous government of Uhuru Kenyatta, and the current government of His Excellency President William Ruto, they have made housing a very critical element of their manifestos. Indeed, during the last election, all the political parties, the major political parties that were vying to take over government, they had housing as a critical element in their manifestos. So although this particular, the government of Kenya Kwanza is the one that succeeded and won the elections, but it was also in the Azimio manifesto as critical. So we can start taking the presentation, which is there. Now, let me begin from the beginning. Long after, before independence, housing was a consideration for the colonial government. Because when you have got citizenry, when you have got wananchi in your country, where they stay affects not just their lives, but it affects also the economy of the country, it affects the security of the country. We all know in the United States, there are people who are living in the streets, homeless people. We know about India, where we have millions of people who are living in the streets. And that has an impact on the health of a nation, it has an impact on the education of a nation, it has an impact on the economic well-being of a nation. So in Kenya, similarly, right from the time of independence, housing was a policy matter. Before, at the early stages, during the colonial period, people were only allowed to live in their villages. There was a restriction about people moving from the rural areas to urban areas. You needed a pass. Those of you who can remember, people needed to have a pass to move from the rural village to go to town centers. So therefore, housing was largely concentrated in the rural areas. So in today's presentation, we shall discuss about the fact that housing problem in Kenya, the housing that is both unavailable and unaffordable, and the reason why the government needs to step in. We have a housing fund and how it works, impact of housing, and then give you a bit of updates. Now, the Kenya Kwanza government, in its manifesto, it has made a promise. The promise is every year they will be building 200,000 housing units. The second promise is they will move the current mortgage level from 30,000 to 1,000,000. The third promise is that housing will be available to majority of Kenyans for as low as 5,000 shillings per month. And this particular promise is already taking place, as we shall describe later. Now, the current situation in our country is that we do have a housing problem in Kenya. And in 2017, there was a study done of Mukuru in Nairobi. Mukuru has got an area of 689 acres. And on 689 acres in Mukuru, this slum area in Nairobi, there are over 100,000 households who are in this area. And that gives us a density. For every acre, we have got 146 households. Those figures we don't understand, but as we go on, why are we discussing these figures? 94% of the people in this area, they're all staying in shacks made of tin. That's the first fact. Number two, they're all paying rent. The rent of 2,500 shillings per month. Now, if you multiply the number of people who are paying the rent, every month in this small area, the landlords, or they pay 230 million shillings per month. And on an annual basis, 2.8 billion is collected in those areas. Now, the poverty penalty is that the people who are living in this kind of an environment, they pay much, much more than ordinary people who are living in other areas. As you can see from the figure there, they pay 172% more for water than people in other areas. And they pay every time they go to the toilet, they pay for the use, in addition to the poverty. Karibu waziri. Want to acknowledge the coming in. Coming of Waziri, the Minister for Lands, Public Works, Urban Housing and Urban Development. Karibu waziri.
Thank you.
Now, the other penalty for poverty for these people is that they pay between 45% to 142% more for electricity than people in other areas. Now, this is a typical situation of the majority of Kenyans, particularly in urban areas. So we have a problem. We have a problem because housing is both unavailable and affordable. In 2017, the World Bank conducted a study in Nairobi. And this is a very important thing because we shall be coming back to these figures. That study is called Unaffordable and Unavailable, the housing problem in Kenya. In this study, it showed that the average cost of a house in Nairobi, 3-bedroom house, is 11 million shillings. 11 million shillings, approximately how much is?
110,000.
Is that what, $100,000?
Yeah.
Huh?
No.
$10,000.
11 million. Yeah, 100.
I think it's $100,000. About $100,000. Okay? About $100,000. The old rates, not the current rates. So that was the average cost of a house in Nairobi. The question we ask ourselves: how many people can afford such a house in Nairobi? And the same study showed that 6.4 million Kenyans were living in slum areas, and that 91% of people in Nairobi were renting because home ownership was not accessible to them. So, therefore, as a country, we had to deal with the issue that we have 92%, 91% of our people who are renting houses. We have houses that are very expensive. So, how do we deal with this kind of a challenge as a nation? We can choose to ignore it. If we ignore this challenge, what that will mean, it will mean increasing the number of people who come to our town centers. They'll be living in the slum areas because the housing is not available. So therefore, the government, what it did is it decided to intervene in this particular area. Why? It's because if we do not intervene, one, we are going to have a crisis in our country. When people do not live in decent houses, there are issues of crime that increase. Let's go to the next slide. Yeah, the issues of crime that increase, the issues of health that deteriorate. Now, we tried to simulate the house that cost 11 million shillings. Because if somebody wants to go and buy the house for 11 million shillings, either you have got cash or you go to the bank to borrow. You go to bank and borrow for a mortgage. Now, the current rates of mortgage in Kenya is about 20%. Current, 17 to 20% mortgage rates in Kenya. And banks give up to 10 years. But we try to simulate a mortgage of 15% per annum for 10 years. So for you, if you go to the bank today in Kenya at those rates, you will have to pay a monthly repayment of 154,000. How many Kenyans can afford to pay 154,000? Very few. The Employment Act in Kenya and basically globally demands that you cannot use more than 2/3 of your income. So it means that you must leave at least 1/3. So if 1/3 of your income was 154,000, then you ought to be earning more than 450,000. How many people are earning more than 450,000? So we ask ourselves the question is that what is this that is making our houses very expensive to 11 million shillings? We looked at the study. This study was done sometimes in 2016 by Center for Affordable Housing Financing in Africa. In South Africa. These are based in South Africa. They studied, I think, about 10 cities in Africa. And asked the question, what is the cost of construction in those cities? What you can see at the top, light blue, that's what? cost of development costs, okay? Legal costs and all that. The second cost in red is construction cost, okay? And then the next cost is land cost, Ruth. Compliance cost. And the bottom is land cost. So this is how cost of construction is distributed. So therefore, we now know if we wanted to reduce the cost of construction, we must target those four components. Either the land costs, which is approximately, this is in Africa. In Africa is about 23.4%. In Kenya, particularly in urban areas, is about 40 to 50% cost of land. Infrastructure costs, roads, utilities, sewage, average, as you can see there. So, knowing this, then the government was equipped to make certain interventions in this particular area. Now, there are four interventions that the government made. The first intervention is government decided to zero rate the cost of land. So what we did is the government surveyed all the land which belongs to it and said we shall be giving land to the developer. So this reduces almost 40 to 50% the cost of a house. The next is infrastructure. The government decided for us to reduce the cost of a house, we'll provide bank infrastructure, horizontal infrastructure, roads, sewage, electricity, until the parcel of land. Number three, you remember we talked about development costs, that is there. The government decided also, and this is now the affordable housing program, that we shall remove VAT from housing. It also decided that there are other levies which we shall also remove. And then, lastly, on the issue of financing, which shall come later, we shall lower the cost of financing. Now, the net effect of this is that we were able to reduce the cost from 11 million to 3 million. Okay? This is government intervention. By these four interventions, the cost of that 3-bedroom house moved from 11 million to 3 million. Have we solved the problem?
Not yet.
Yes? Big way, isn't it? In a big way, we have solved the problem. But how many Kenyans basically can afford 3 million? Where do you get 3 million from to go and buy a house? Because we also realized, I think we have to go to the other slide. Yes. So we did the same exercise and said that if we were a Kenyan was to go and ask for financing for 3 million shillings, what kind of a monthly return would they pay? On the right side of it, if they want to go to the bank, basically, at the same price we talked about before, at 15% interest rate for 10 years, as it is now, then the Kenyan will be required to pay 42,000 shillings per month. And this, again, we found out that it is not possible. We only have very few Kenyans who can afford that, and we'll come to that later. So therefore, Let's go back. Okay. So now we studied the income levels of Kenyans, and ask ourselves, the people who are employed in Kenya, how much are they earning and who can afford what? Now from that, what you can see there, 71% of Kenyans earn between 15,000 to 50,000. 22% between 50,000 to 100,000. And only 2.8% earn over 100,000. So therefore, although the price is 3 million shillings, the Kenyans who can afford to pay 42,000, remember 42,000 is supposed to be a third, times 3, that is 126,000. So, despite the fact that we have reduced the cost from 11 million to 3 million, something else needs to happen, which is there. So, what needs to happen beyond that?
Extend the town.
What is it?
Extend the town below.
We extend the town. And then?
25 years instead of 10 years.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. So, therefore, the brother there said you extend the term.
Yes.
Okay. That banks are offering 10 years. Okay. Make it 25 years. Will banks agree?
They should.
Because that's the standard.
Yes, but will they agree? What is the incentive for the banks to agree?
High interest.
A higher interest?
Pardon?
Higher interest?
No, the interest is already high.
Yes. Income for the homeowners. So
The banks want just to ensure that the mortgage owners are paying their mortgage on a monthly basis, because they extend the time.
absolutely.
The longer you extend,
Yes.
so the banks will not work with that.
Absolutely. So I mean, the brother and the sister here are correct. Banks are in business, isn't it?
Yes.
No. Banks always ask themselves the question: if we give our money, how are we sure that the money will be paid back? Yeah. Who does the bank think that they pay back the money? What is the profile of a person that the bank thinks they'll pay the money?
Of course, the banks have to do the financial analysis to know that this person is able to pay back this mortgage.
Yes.
They're going to answer the questions and all that, because they won't just give the money to anybody.
Absolutely.
They have to do a financial assessment.
And that is exactly what we established. It is exactly what we established. That the banks know. Let's go back to the slide. Again. Go out. Again. Yes. So the banks, you're right. The banks felt they have the least risks if they give people who earn more than 100,000 shillings. Okay? And perhaps people between 50 to 100,000. Okay? But the majority of our people are in the lower category.
So they are high risk.
Are we together? They are high risk for the bank. So what do we need to do? Remember we began by saying that having a house, shelter, is a constitutional right. Okay. So the government then said, what do we need to do? And this is just not this current government or the previous government. This has been in subsequent governments of Kenya, that they said long time ago, from 1967, for us to solve the housing problem, we require to have money, sufficient money. Using that money we have together, a pool of funds, then we can give loans, home ownership loans. That's what they are called in America, isn't it? You can give home ownership loans to everybody at affordable rates. Are you together? That's what in Kenya we are calling the housing fund. Are we together? That is the housing fund. Now, what is the housing fund? Now, the housing fund is basically the pulling together of resources from many, many Kenyans. And those resources, once they're pulled together, then it enables the government to extend loans, as the brother said, long-term loans, okay, for 30 years, lower interest rates to the people. Okay? Now, this housing fund, which is what we have had maybe the last couple of weeks or months, the 3%. You've heard of the 3% debate in Kenya? We have heard of the 3%
Yes.
debate in Kenya. That we are saying that everybody who is employed, they contribute 3% savings. You save your money 3%, and the employer adds another 3% to you. And the idea of the savings is that we pull all our money together so that every Kenyan, particularly the ones on the lower side, who otherwise will never own a house, the ones who are at Mukuru, remember the Mukuru story? People who are staying in single rooms, no water, no electricity, they can now own houses. It is there. Now, how this fund works, basically, and for us in government, this is the biggest thing to happen, perhaps in our lifetime. 20 years from now, we shall be happy that we lived during this moment when lives of Kenyans were changed. Now, the housing fund is 3%, but it is capped at a maximum of 2,500 per month. So even the one who earns 100,000, 200,000 is capped 2,500 per month. Most Kenyans will be contributing about 1,000 shillings per month. So if you take about 1,000 shillings per month, and this is saving, okay? Saving means it's your money, isn't it? Saving means you can take it out. Okay? So, and the minimum period given is 7 years. So if you are paying the maximum at 2,500, in 7 years, it will be 210,000. Okay. If you're paying 1,000 shillings, it will be about 84,000. The second element is that if we do that contribution, we shall be able to collect approximately almost 9 billion shillings per month. Now, with 9 billion shillings per month, it does wonders for Kenyans. You know, for the Kenyans of the income levels that we showed. The government will then be able to tell developers. Now, who are these developers? Developers are people who are coming in with their money. Okay? They are coming in with their designs. And they build houses using their money, because government does not have money. So the only way for us to get the houses built is to make it attractive for the developers or for investors. So if we have this fund, then we are sure these developers that the moment you come and build houses, you give us the keys, then we give you, we pay you. Are we together? Now, once we have the keys, then we shall be able to extend. Okay? We shall be able to extend the kind of loan facility, home ownership facilities to Kenyans that is there. Okay? The next slide. Now, this housing fund, as we have said, there are benefits to the employee, the person who is saving. The first benefit is you having your own saving, and then your employer gives you equal amount of saving. So immediately you are getting 100% return to your investment. For every month you save 1,000 shillings, the employer gives you 1,000 shillings. So you no longer go at a loss. The second return is that your contribution for if you are going to save for your home and affordable housing, you are entitled to a relief, a housing relief, which is 9,000 shillings per month. The third benefit to employees who, for the first time they are owning their houses, they are entitled up to 300,000 mortgage relief. And if within 7 years you want to withdraw your money, okay, you can get your money, but this money, once collected, it will also be invested. Okay? Because, for example, if from July we collect 9 billion shillings, we do not have any houses ready to buy. Okay? So that money will be invested, okay, in secure investments, mainly treasury bills, which is our secure investments, which is there. Now, the benefit to, okay, so at the beginning I mentioned about the benefit to the investor. Okay, the investor first of all gets land at zero cost, although this zero cost is transferred to the buyer. The investor gets tax relief or tax-free VAT relief. The investor also, there's a slide that I jumped the split. The investor also, when he does the investment, there's what we are calling a development split. You know, because we are giving the investor public land for free, we are giving them public money in terms of VAT free, we are going for that. Then we therefore force the investor to sell these houses at given prices. They do not sell them at the price they wish. 1 bedroom house goes for about 1 million, 1.2 million. 2 bedroom houses go for about 2.2, 2.5 million. 3 bedroom house, 3 million, 3.2, 3.5 million. Okay? Because we have given them public funds, public land. Now, investors will come and say, I used to sell my house at 5 million. How do I recover? Okay. So part of the thing we do is we allow the investor on that particular scheme 30% for the investor to sell at commercial rates, so as they make profit from that land, which is there. Okay? Now, so how does a Kenyan, how do you come and join this scheme? Okay. So we have a portal that is called Bumayangu. How many of you have come across Bumayangu? Please raise your hand. Bumayangu? Wow, very few of you. Now, we have established a platform under e-citizen called Bumayangu. Bumayangu is a platform that you can register to save money and begin your journey towards home ownership. Bumayangu allows you to save, and Bumayangu allows you to select the projects. All the projects and affordable housing program are under Bumayangu, which is there. And it is very simple. What you do there, you can see the journey from number 1 to number 6. The first thing you do registration. It verifies you. You give your ID for verification. And then once you qualify for that, then it allows you to start a contribution. Currently, we are doing voluntary contribution, which is your deposit, okay? Which is your savings, Once you make a contribution and you have reached the minimum deposit level, okay, then you state your preference, and we shall tell you about the current housing schemes that are there. And then after that, then you move towards financing. Either you pay cash or you go on tenant parties, which is there. Now, if you are an investor, basically, and I want to encourage members from the diaspora to think of investment opportunities. Now, this is one such investment opportunity that you're coming in, you or together with the others, you want to come and develop houses to be part of this program. The first thing you do, you go to Bumayango again, and you register as a strategic partner. After you do the registration, now the affordable housing program allows investors to come at two levels. Either you come and get government land, or you come with your land. Okay? And then you are assessed under the affordable housing scheme. So, first of all, you need to register both ways to become a strategic partner. And then number two, then what government does with public land, government normally advertise for the available public land that is there. And then all partners bid for that land. It's an open, competitive procurement process. And then, if you're successful, you are awarded that piece of land for the road. Also, we share profit, which is there. Now, the issue about affordable housing, at the face of it is about home ownership, basically. But affordable housing, just like other infrastructure programs, and for those of you who have been in this country, you remember that wherever there's depression, what does government do here? They do stimulus, isn't it? Yes. What stimulus do they normally do? Infrastructure. Okay? Wherever there's been a depression, any new government that comes in invests heavily in infrastructure. They build roads, they build houses as a way of stimulating the economy of the country. Okay. So now, the affordable housing program, beyond the provision of housing to Kenyans, the other major thing which it will do, and it is doing, is stimulate the economy for the country. And part of the way it is stimulating, like in this particular case, we are engaged very much with the micro, small, and medium enterprise. Juakali, basically. Juakali are at the center of affordable housing program in our case, through various ways, and as we shall come and explain, and we shall tell you the impact, economic impact of affordable housing program. Well, these are some of the projects, isn't it? Okay. Of affordable housing. Now, the economic impact of housing projects, okay? It is established that for every $1 invested for affordable housing program, we get a return of between $1.5 to $3. We get a return of 3 times If we put in 1 billion, we get return 3 billion from there. Number two, in terms of job creation, that's where we were. It is established that for every one housing unit that is created, we have got 3 new jobs directly and 8 indirect jobs. So we create 11 jobs. So that is how the economy is stimulated. We are giving work. And in Kenya, if you have seen the launches that are there, there's a principle. The principle is that workers for every construction come from the area where the housing scheme is. If it is in Nakuru, they come from Nakuru. If it is in Machakos, they come from Machakos. So the economic activity of that particular area is increased. And what is more, in terms of Juakali, the government has actually identified, is it 69?
69.
69. The government has identified 69 items that, with specific interventions, one, those 69 items have been made standard. Why are they standard? It's very strange that in our country, Kenya, people, when they construct, everybody has got different measurements. Different measurements for doors, different measurements for windows, different measurements for skirting, different measurements for various items. It is part of the reasons why the cost of construction is very high in Kenya. Because it means that for every house, you do and design a door, basically. So those 69 items that have been identified, they have been given standard measurements. Okay? Now those standard measurements, the impact of it is that, because remember we said how many units per year? 200,000. Okay? So for 200,000 units per year, and you are building doors, hinges, locks, and all other aspects of it, we are able to produce at scale. So if you produce at scale, what happens? It becomes cheaper, isn't it? The cost comes down. Now, certain of the elements that have happened, certain of those elements have been ring-fenced for Juakali. Okay? So at every project that is launched, there's an agreement signed between the developer and the Juakali in that area. And the Juakali are the ones who supply these items to the developer. So immediately, employment is generated for the Juakali. And we shall explain a bit later, practically, what that has happened. Now, it is estimated that when we do 200,000 housing units per year, the multiplier is $10 billion to the economy. Our current GDP is $30 billion. Okay? Kenya. So when we do 200,000 units, it will be $10 billion. That's almost 30% of our GDP. The current contribution of housing is 7% to GDP. So we'll push in a major way. Secondly, out of this, the average labor cost will be $500 million. You know, so that is employment for our people. And it is expected that it will add 2.1 million jobs to the market. Now, this is the example I was saying about Juakali. When we were doing the Park Road affordable housing project in Nairobi, 3 Juakali associations came together and they formed what is called Ngokamka, for Ngongoro, Kamukunji, and Kariobangi. You know, and they recruited about 10,000 members. And they were contracted, this Ngokamka, to supply 8,500 doors for that particular project of affordable housing in Park Road. And the contract sum was 120 million shillings. And they supplied, you know, and the contractor provided them with a seed capital for it. Now, the result of this exercise, this is to demonstrate to you that actually we are not talking about what government is going to do. We are talking about what government is doing and what has worked in this. The result of this is that at the end of the day, the Ngokamka were able to do the contract without any broker. They earned more money for the members. And because they were successful, they established a formal relationship with the banks. Now Ngokamka is a bankable outfit. Banks provide them with financing whenever there are new projects that are coming forward. And because they are formalized, they were able to pay tax. Before they were not paying tax. And they have gone beyond our borders. And they are now providing similar things outside Kenya to Uganda. But more importantly, also, the members of this Juakali, they were able to save through Bomayangu, 110 of them, and 58 of them, as we talk today, they are actually homeowners at Park Road. Park Road is at the center of Nairobi. You know, they would never have imagined that a Juakali person would own a house in the middle of Nairobi, which is there. So what is happening now with them? We are with the Juakali Ngokamka case. That's, they did 1,370 units. At a national level, when you scale up, you know, and they are scaling up to have a national outfit, they are going to be doing 200,000 units. The doors from about 8,500 doors to almost $1.24 million doors. And of course, when you talk about the amount of money, to almost 17.52 billion. Those are big economic benefits in our country. Now, what is perhaps, and I believe with the last slide, this will be of interest to you as people from the diaspora. Remember, I said that we have about 69 different parts of a house which have been standardized. When we do 200,000 of this, what does it mean for you, and where is your opportunity? Those of you who are in this place, because if you're in the diaspora, two things may be to your advantage. I believe the guy of Njema talked about. One, you have the dollar with you. So you may be having cash with you. Two, you may be having contacts with you. And three, you may be able to access cheaper credits for you. So these are opportunities that you can have. All these are parts of a building, from blocks to manhole covers to handrails to slabs. What you see on total there, if we are to do 200,000 units a year, what you can see there as totals, those are the number. Like in this particular case, if you go to the blocks, would require 75.9 million blocks. If you go to curtain rails, 1 million curtain rails. If you go to clothing lines, about 825,000, almost 1 million. Dust bins, 200,000. Next page. If you go to safety boots, 700,000. You go to plastic buckets, you go to hose. So all these are business opportunities of supplying under this program. Those opportunities are open for you. I think that is also basically what we are saying is that we do have. Those are examples. Those are examples of the housing projects that are ongoing. 9,935 units. These are houses that are ongoing from the previous government that are being completed. His Excellency the President, from the time he took office, he has launched 36,000 units. He has launched in the last 8 months 36,000 units that are ongoing. We're expecting in the next couple of months 31,000 units. I think I want to stop there and perhaps take any questions. Thank you very much. Yes, so that you don't doubt me. What has happened me here? Okay.
Mr. Said Athman, thank you so much for coming to New Jersey. Thank you, Waziri General, for gracing us too with coming over and being part of this. We're really excited. Thank you. Thank you. This is a very comprehensive slide that you've done. And I was going through, so what I did was reach out to a few of my buddies and I told them, you know, I'll be asked to go up there and ask questions. What questions do you have? And a few of them sent me questions. Now you have answered all of them through this slide, but there are few that we can still explore. And I know some people may want to ask these questions. So land is really a very emotive issue, particularly in our country. My name is Peter Jiroge. I come from Burnt Forest. And those that remember Burnt Forest know what happened there in the last couple of years. So land is a very emotive issue. And I know it touches people and it really brings out sometimes the bad in us. But you are exploring a very important question about housing and what we should do about it. So there's a question here. In his recent visit to Botswana, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua revealed that the government will be mapping out credible real estate developers to construct homes for Kenyans abroad through a government guarantee. And I think you've mentioned a little bit about how you're doing this. But the question is, credible real estate developers, how are you doing that? How are you figuring out that this is a credible real estate developer? If I came to Kenya tomorrow and established a company and I employed a few people and I want to be involved in this, Can I do it? Am I credible?
I think that's a very important question, really. It actually is at the heart of our development in real estate, and also housing now being at the forefront. It's a challenge. We have had very many good developers over the years that have contributed. At the beginning of the slide, if you look at it, we say that we have a current need for houses in Kenya is 250,000 a year. The market provides 50,000 houses per year. Now, the 50,000 that are provided by the market, they are provided by developers, okay, and individual owners. People who are coming in and they put up houses, either then they sell, cash sale, some of them through mortgage. But we've had challenge. The reason why His Excellency the Deputy President used the word credible, it's because over the years, people have come in, took people's money, and they don't deliver what they promised. So, what are we doing as a government? As a government, we have put up a bill for developers, because it is the only subsector within the built-up environment that is not regulated. Everybody is regulated. Contractors are regulated, estate agents are regulated, professionals are regulated, but developers are not regulated. You know, so that's why they want credible. So the moment we have that policy and act out, then it should not be anybody who will just come in and say, I'm a developer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So as a follow-up to that question, and I know a lot of us have done this where companies have come abroad and say that they are building apartments and condos for us. And we've paid a lot of money, 8 million, 12 million, and they say this is the house you will get. And this is really a personal question for me. Do you think it's a good idea to buy off-site plants?
I think that's the question which the buyer should answer. But however, as a government, because the person who entices you and invites you to buy offsite uses marketing techniques on you. What you need to ask yourself is, one, do I trust the person? And trust is a factor of many things. But before you trust a person, you must see instruments of trust. Okay? Instruments of trust. That that development, as it is it a registered development? There are some of those initial things that you can check through. Because in Kenya, you cannot start a development unless it is registered. The National Construction Authority registers all developments that are there. Number two, are those people, do they have a history of delivery? Okay. Have they delivered before? Are they known to have delivered before? You can ask yourself that question, which is there. But now, as a government, when we have that act in place, you know, then they'll be required to put certain securities. Okay, just like banks, basically. I mean, you go to a bank and give your money because there's a security in case somebody was to fail for that. So I will not say that for now, because there's a lacuna development, I think you need to do some due diligence on the people who are asking you to do that. We cannot say do not buy off plan. Because again, a lot of these 50,000 units development were actually developed through that process, because the investor is looking for liquidity, you know. But you just didn't do your due diligence for that.
Thank you very much. All right, so I'll switch gears a little bit and talk about Atisasa platform. You have mentioned Boma Yangu, and you see that the reaction you got when you said, anybody knows Boma Yangu? Nobody.
Yes.
Because we don't know about Boma. Actually, I was looking for it quickly, and I went to the website and to see what is this Boma Yangu. But I'm familiar with Atisasa, because one of the things I did was sign up, log in, and then I wanted to make sure this thing is really working. In the middle of the night, I sent a text to help, and I got a response. Oh, how can we help you? They go, yes, I want to do a search on land in Lamu. And they said, no. The only searches you can do right now is in Nairobi. So the question is, explain this Atisasa platform so that all of us here that are looking to use it or even work it out, and it's really helpful for us. So I'm here, I want to do a search. It's a very good platform. It's just that we don't know about it or what we do with it.
I think you're a very lucky person, because the person who has passion for this is Waziri.
Thank you very much, HS. I was thinking I would talk and answer questions after I do my presentation, because that question, I will be able to handle it while doing my presentation. You understand, the secretary housing, unfortunately, the PS, lands and planning, and also the secretary lands were not able to come, but I'll explain why. So with your permission, I would rather I handle that after I do my presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Waziri.
All right, so we are dwelling on housing.
Yes.
And I'm going to open up now a question to. Yes.
Yes, you can. Please. Yes.
By the way, Assalamu alaikum. Asmani. So, I am a project of Kenyatta back in 1973. I grew up in Nakuru, South Side. And in 73, Kenyatta decided he was going to move and build projects for the residents of Kenya, or rather Nakuru. And we had Flamingo, we had Kalaveni, and he said, 1973, I'm building Flamingo Phase 2. These were 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom homes inside Flamingo. So, I see you guys are concentrating on home ownership. What made it easy for us was those homes were for renting. Are you guys considering renting some of these projects that are coming up? It is an easier way of giving people dignity in nice housing. By the way, thank you very much for everything that you guys are doing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Name, please?
Zach.
Very good, you know me. So, why I got excited when he asked that question, because the area he's talking about is where me and him were brought up. And it is true, those areas of Kibumbini, Flamingo, and Phase 2 were done by the then government to help people afford renting. Now, as a government, we want to go a notch higher. Apart from renting, we want people to own homes. And you realize with the TPS, the tenancy purchase scheme, which is long term, it will mean the rent you have been paying, you can be paying the same amount of money to own a home in the long term. So what the government is doing now, and I want to quote Kivomini, we want to start redeveloping those estates. You realize they've taken a very big space, but since land is a challenge now in Kenya, we are concentrating on the affordable housing to go vertical rather than horizontal. So in a few years, when you go back home, those areas of Kivumbini, you will find skyscrapers. You'll find houses that have been developed and people are paying to own. So actually, the whole concept is it's rent to own. So that at the end of the term, after some years, that house, after 25, 30 years, that house becomes yours. So we're working on that, brother. Thank you.
I hope as we are here, if you go to e-Citizen just now with your phone and Boma Yangu, before we leave here, you'll actually be registering.
And can I buy?
Yeah. Pardon? Okay.
So it's start
Yeah.
32.
Ngacha, please explain.
Yes.
Okay, CS and members, good evening. So it's very simple. There are two channels to register. You could either do it on USSD, *832#, and then you follow the prompt. There are about 3 steps, very simple, and then you need to have an entry contribution of about 200 shillings. So that's the easiest way to register for those of you who still have your phones that are linked to Kenya. And then you can also go onto this Boma Yangu website, bomayangu.go.ke, and you can register. But Ruth, if you just scroll down, you will just go into this diaspora home applicants and you'll register. So as long as you've got your valid ID number, you're still able to register.
Or a passport?
Or a passport. So you're able to register there. Now behind that window, there's still some work that we're doing because this allows you to purchase a home. Now, you recall the Housing Secretary showed us the developments. So the developments are affordable housing, and then there's also the development split, which also has commercial units. So you're able to pick up commercial units on a development, or you're able to buy an affordable home, whichever it's your choice as an investment decision. The work that the government has undertaken is to ensure that there's due diligence on the developers, and you will ensure that the home is delivered to you at an affordable rate, and you will be able to have a home for yourself or for your family members in Kenya. And again, I think Nyota highlighted to us that if you think about the monthly repayment with the dollar where it is vis-a-vis the Kenya shilling, at a rate of 5, 10 or 15,000 shillings a month on a rent to own, it is extremely affordable for any Kenyan. Now behind that window is we're going to also come up with products that will allow the diaspora to invest as fixed income instruments, because those instruments will allow you to pool your funds together and allow you to fund developments in Kenya. We're also going to have what would be as close to real estate investment trusts that are looking at funding these developments, and those are Capital Markets Authority regulated instruments, so you know your money is safe when you invest in developments. So we're going to also have those coming soon under this portal. So I encourage you to, all of you, to explore this portal. It is still work in progress, but there is a lot of work that is going on behind it.
Maybe a quick question.
Everybody.
You said that you can register.
Sorry, before you leave. You said that you can register either using your ID, is it Kenyan ID? And if it's passport, is it Kenyan passport? Or can somebody with a US passport register if you're in diaspora?
It's for Kenyans.
Kenyans.
It's for specifically Kenyans?
Yes.
All right.
I have a question too. Okay, good evening, everyone. Okay, when you asked the question about Boma Yangu, I knew about Boma Yangu like 2.5 years ago. I just missed the question because I wasn't here. However, I applied for that Boma Yangu, and during that time, everything was put on suspense. And now that you talk about the 200, that was already indicated about paying that, but I never got any emails requesting that we continue to pay that. And this is the one in Ngara, you know. There was a project coming up in Ngara, and I did that, and I encouraged my kids to do that. So now you're saying everything is back. I have not received any email to that effect. So I need to know exactly where you are, why I haven't gotten any feedback, because I did this like 2.5 years ago.
There's another question.
No. Hello, all protocols observed. For me, it's not a question, maybe it's an acknowledgement that I also went in Boma Yangu, and I'm a proud owner of the Ngara household. It's complete and it was handed over sometimes 1.5 years ago.
All right, so for the sake of questions, let's try and have a better delivery. Just
I mean, I think first of all we need to apologize if that's the case. You have not received any response. I don't know whether we're able to find out when we're here.
We'll take the details.
Yes, we'll take your details and we'll come back to you, hopefully within the next 24 hours. But that's not normal. The Mayangu is very prompt. In fact, I want to encourage you to register now so that by the time we leave here, we have many of you. It is working. So that must have been an issue. Now, on Park Road as well, Park Road was oversubscribed. Park Road. More people wanted the houses than the houses that were there. You know? So actually, some people, those who desired, were referring money. The ones who chose, then they were put to the next schemes that were there.
Yeah.
You know, that is there. So we did not have any other problems with Park Road as far as concerned. If you have not received any communication, then it must have been a hitch somewhere, and we'll take your details and respond to you within the next 24 hours. Okay?
With your permission, CS, just to this customer journey, maybe just to stress, it's important that once you do the minimum contribution, that you keep saving, because you become eligible for home once you have met the minimum criteria of 10%. So that says 12.5%, but I think that as of the day before yesterday was changed to 10%. So you have to keep saving beyond. So if your house is 1.5 million, you put your 150,000 shillings. If it's 2 million, it's 200,000. If it's 3 million, it's 300,000. So you do not stop at the minimum contribution, because it's first past the gate and you become eligible for allocation once you have reached the minimum. So it's important that you do not stop. And even beyond that minimum, keep saving, because you'll obviously reduce the amount that you're going to be paying. I see this.
you know, Sheila has a question, but to a follow-up to that one, if I do a lump sum of 100,000,
yes.
I should not stop.
You should not.
I should keep going. So once I reach the 10%, now I'm eligible to pick from, right, but I should continue investing. All right, awesome.
I think a good clarification there, that for you to be eligible for allocation, you need to reach the deposit level. Okay? First. The 10% deposit level. So you save until you reach the deposit level. Now, during allocation, it will be the first person who has reached the deposit level. That's how it is allocated. It is first reached, first allocated. Are we together? You know, the basis is you must have reached. If you have not reached the 10% deposit level, for now, you are out of allocation. But however, when the housing fund, remember we talked about the housing fund? You know, when the housing fund is operation, even the issue of deposit, because it will be our money, isn't it? And our contribution. So it will no longer be, at that time, a qualifying criteria. But for now, because it's voluntary contribution, then you do that.
All right, so I'm thinking about my auntie in Urban Forest. She doesn't have a phone. She wants to do this. How will she be able to participate in this? And I think one of the things I've heard a lot in Kenya is that communication is lacking in terms of those people way down there. They don't know any good English. They don't know what 12% deposit is. How does my aunt participate in this? And yet she doesn't have a phone.
That's very common.
Now, the access to what, to Boma Yangu or to this program?
This whole program.
Now, at the moment, that may be a challenge at the moment, basically, because again, you need to access as Ngati has said, you know, if you have it's called what? Mulikamwizi. Mulikamwizi. Kabambe. You know Kabambe? You use shortcode. You don't have to use a website. And the shortcode is star 832. Hash. Okay? I believe there are very few Kenyans that are not operating in M-Pesa now. If you're able to operate in M-Pesa, you're actually able to access owning of a house.
Thank you. I'll explain to my aunt. All right, let's take a question from Suga.
Good evening, everyone, all protocols observed. Just to add on to what our housing secretary has said, for those people who perhaps do not have the feature phone, we are working in partnership with Huduma centers. And as we know, Huduma centers have a footprint across the country. And the next thing we're doing is actively engaging Huduma so that we can go to mashinani. We will hold barazas so that the people in Ban Forest and whichever corner of Kenya you're in, you will be able to benefit from the program.
Thank you very much.
And there will be houses even in Ban Forest.
Oh yes,
Across the
we
country.
need them, yes.
We have a question here. Oh, sure. Good evening. Protocols observed. First of all, this is my house because I live around the corner, so everybody welcome to my town. Patrick Duka is my name, and I have a two-part question. The first one talks about the 3%. Savings.
Yes.
We say that money will be taken and invested in, while we are building, that money will be 9 billion per month that will be invested somewhere. If I'm the one who is voting the 3%, am I going to share in that, in whatever money, whatever the gains will be? A corporate accumulation.
Good question, yes.
Thank you. That's the first question. Question number two, I think it was actually answered because my question was going to be, we are going out there telling people to put in money so that we can build. And we are also telling developers to come with their money so that they can build the houses. Mm-hmm. You are in diaspora. Diaspora sends about $4 billion to Kenya. Mm-hmm. Out of that, more than 50% comes to the US. Mm-hmm. That is the money we send. We have also some money we have saved in our banks here in US. Mm-hmm. Some of it also in Kenya. Earning 0%, 2%, maybe minimum percent. Do we have an opportunity to invest some of that money so that we can gain, one, by helping our people,
which we are always trying to help gain housing, and number two, get better returns. So, two questions. Thank you.
And what is that interest return for that investment?
I think that's a wonderful proposition and question as well. And I think that's why we're here. That we really believe that you are able to mobilize resources to come and partake part of this business opportunity. The people who have been coming to us in the last couple of months about this, the issue is about how can you access affordable financing. You know, so if you have resources here and you're able to organize yourselves, either as companies or joint ventures, then it is possible already. And it is possible not just as developers, but also we have opportunities in this program. We are developing and constructing 200 units in every constituency in Kenya. So you can come in as a contractor as well. You know, in every constituency in the country, we are constructing 200 units, and these will be sold to Kenyans. So wherever you're coming from, as a Kenyan, every constituency there'll be 200. You can as well, also as a buyer, wait to buy in your constituency, but you can come in as a contractor as well. The first question you have asked, a good question. That remember, as I said, that if we begin collecting money in July, 9 billion a month, it may not be for the next 1 year, you know, so that money will be invested. So when you are getting your money after 7 years, you'll get plus the return, because this money will be managed by a fund manager. So you'll get your contribution plus the return of your savings.
Thank you very much. All right, Sheila has a question. For the mic. Oh, by the way, I have a friend in Lodwa. I'll tell him to expect 200.
Right.
Yes. Go ahead.
Hi, sorry, my name is Sheila, and I have purposely flown here from England to come and participate in this. Although not necessarily participate, but to actually listen to what is happening. It is an absolute pleasure. I'll start by saying mine is it's not a question necessarily, but an acknowledgement of seeing Kenyans in the US come together and do something. And I wish this is something like this in the UK, because I haven't seen anything like this. And the reason for me to come here, and the reason to come here really is for me to come and ascertain what is it that the Kenyans in the US are doing, the Kenyans in the UK are not doing. We've either lost the vision of what we ought to do when we are in the diaspora, or we have literally just mingled and been sucked in the culture of UK. So I'm taking this opportunity to actually thank you and your members for opening my eyes up. I am really impressed. I'm extremely alienated with what is going on right now. I am a professor by background, I'm a neuroscientist, and coming and seeing this and what women can do.
All right, women.
It's absolutely, and nothing against the men, but I'm trying to emphasize, I'm literally trying to emphasize what is going on. So going back to the construction and the business kind of acumen of what is going on here, there is a twist that I would actually like to bring if we move forward, incorporate property development and health, i.e. mental health within the African culture. That is another topic, ideally. So my main aim of getting up and speaking is really to thank you all. I'm just here for the 4 days and then I go back, and I'm hoping that your highnesses, sorry, we call them highnesses, your highness. Minister, yeah. So I'm hoping that we can have a tete-a-tete and kind of make an arrangement for that. Thank you very much.
Sheila. First of all, Sheila.
Yes, Sheila.
Sheila, we shall be equally willing to come to UK and share with you the same information. And number two, in our affordable housing program, we also have ring-fenced certain things for women. You know, we are in partnership with a group of women called Build Her, you know, that comprises fundis in the construction sector. And we protect certain jobs for them as well. So this program is also for women. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions here? I'll take one more question. I know it can keep going, and I wish we had more time. That's why next time we need to allocate a little bit more time. Timothy, go ahead.
Hello, yeah, my name is Timothy. The question I have, can you register for more than one unit? Let's say I have kids, I want each to own a home. Can I register a home for each one of them and also for my spouse?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, you can, because for as long as you are Kenyan and you have an ID, you are entitled to one house. One house per person. Per person means a Kenyan with an ID.
Yes.
So you can actually for your kids, but if they're 18, differently, yes, and your spouse.
One house, one ID, okay? One house, one ID.
Okay. All right, Timothy, now you can go ahead and set them up. All right.
There's still a few more questions. Can we give them 20 seconds just each? They're asking very easy questions. Hard questions haven't come yet.
All right, buddy, just choose one thing. You know, it's a lot of questions. We may have opportunities after the next presentation. Oh, somebody has a question?
Yeah. Thank you. I have a multi-part question, and I apologize in advance. One is on the policy itself. So we said that we're trying to help people who cannot afford to put down for a mortgage or to even qualify for the stringent risks analysis that banks have to do. How does this policy essentially ensure those people are the ones getting access to home ownership before those that can afford? The second one is on the role that banks play, right? The approach of this policy, while laudable in my opinion, seems to also want to replace banks in the economy. In that banks play a critical role. If we want to grow as a country, we need to be able to let private capital to also do its job. How are we collaborating with the banks in a way that makes them more partners in this policy rather than aggrieved, members of the economy? I'll stop there because I can go on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very good questions, actually. I think the first question, the dream for this program is that in the totality of time, that can be 1 year, 2 years, we'll be having Kenyans that will be paying 5,000 shillings for 1-bedroom houses, rent to own. They'll be paying 10,000 shillings for 2-bedroom houses, rent to own. They'll be paying 15,000 shillings for 3-bedroom house, rent to own. This will happen, basically. And it will only happen, as we have said before, if we pull together our resources. So that is really a reality which we're working to. On the second question, that tenant purchase, which is a rent to own, is just one element of this mechanism. If you remember in our first slide, we said we want to increase the mortgage from 30,000 to 1 million, okay? Now, mortgages are offered by the banks. So the role of the banks is there, The banks are critical, financial institutions are critical part of this whole scheme. You cannot avoid that. First part of your question as well, on how do we ensure that the ones who are at the low level, okay, then are prioritized. Now, this scheme, there is a part which is called social housing. Okay, the social housing are the ones at the bottom, the ones who, the Mukuru type, the Mukuru people who are there. Now, social housing, the people who are on the lower side of it, the income range of between 0 to 15,000 or 0 to 20,000 a month. Those ones, currently, how much are they paying for rent? We said earlier. 2,500. You guys have got very good memory, isn't it? So, we are also developing for them. Currently, those programs are going on. The social housing programs are going on currently in the slum areas. And in the affordable housing, similarly, we shall be giving them from the rent they are paying, those will be preserved for the poor, for the ones who are at that low income level. I hope I've answered you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Asman, for your time. It's past 6 o'clock. Dinner is around. I'm hungry. Mr. Asman is hungry. We have to feed our guests. Let's feed our guests first, and then we can come back to this. I really appreciate the time, and I'm honored to.